In the context of a worldwide economic uncertainty, the Chinese economy is also confronted with new downward pressure and challenges such as ongoing trade tensions with the United States. But with a series of fiscal policies, including tax cuts and lower reserve ratios designed to free up liquidity, stabilize the job market, and strengthen local government debt management, China is seeking to accelerate a shift in its economic model to new drivers of growth. So what are the sternest challenges for the world's second largest economy? And how will these new policies restructure the Chinese economy in the coming years? And how will they influence the world's economic pattern even as the two largest economies are negotiating? To discuss the many issues related to the Chinese economy in this turbulent time, I'm pleased to be joined in the Beijing studio by Wang Huiyao, President of the Center for China and Globalization, and Liu Zhiqian, Senior Fellow with the Chongyang Institute for Financial Studies at Renmin University of China. We shall also talk to Mao Daqing, founder and CEO of U-Commune via telephone. That's our topic. This is Dialogue. I'm Yang Rui. Welcome to Dialogue, gentlemen. After the annual Central Economic Work Conference by the CPC, China will implement a proactive fiscal policy with larger tax cuts for this year. What does the new measure actually mean for the prospects of the Chinese economy, Harry?
Well, I think it means quite a lot because, as we can see, the 2018 just passed was really, will go down in history as probably one of the memorable year, because we're having a lot of challenges, a lot of actually difficulties probably. We see the economic actually slowing down. We see the stock market probably coming down 25 to 30%. We see also actually in the last month, November, the manufacturing index is coming below 50-point mark. So there's a series of challenges, and also we see particularly the complaints and also the difficulties the private sectors has that actually influence the sentiment of the country, and also most of all is the China-U.S. trade frictions. All those factors, I think, contributed to the economic challenges ahead, and also particularly the economic slowing down, I think. And we can see that even Apple, which has drastically reduced its stock value, is due to the fact that the sales in China was actually
other than the general picture
down.
about the adverse circumstances. So what do you think of, Zhiqian, what do you think of the impact of the proactive fiscal policy?
I think this policy is quite important for the Chinese market. As we know that last year we are facing the very challengeable problem is the monetary supply with the real economy. The relations cannot be well managed, you see. That's why the people always asking for proactive fiscal policies. What the meaning of the proactive fiscal policies? That means when the market is demanding for more money supply, we have to give enough supply. Mm-hmm. At the moment, we have some cut off the RRR, that is the reserve ratio, in order to give more liquidity, to have more input in the market, to give more confidence to the market and the investors. So this is one way and one challenge that we have to meet, how to deal with the monetary supply and also real economy, what the relations can be well managed. But I think this is a very old story we have discussed for many years, but till now we don't have a good outcome and a solution. Only we have two possibilities. One is interest cut or tax cut. So what else? We have to improve all these policy tools and to meet the demands of the market.
Liquidity is one thing. A tax is quite another for the small and medium-sized enterprises whose underperformance have really embarrassed policymakers at different levels in this country, and also keep the rest of the world on close watch at the same time. Now, what do you think of, say, the difficult access that the small and medium-sized enterprises have to loan funding? because despite the recent visits by Premier Li Keqiang to some of the financial institutions in the capital market to foster confidence of the banking institutions to really provide the private economy with the loans that is badly needed, still credibility, reputation of the private economy remains a major concern for the banking industries. What do you think of the catch-22 situation?
Yeah, no, that's probably you're really right. That's pointed to the absolute essence of the problem. I think we're actually in a cycle now. I mean, 2009 we had a financial crisis. China launched the 4 trillion stimulus package. Now it's 2018, 2019 now, and now we're probably getting into another cycle of possibility of now.
Are you suggesting that we're going to have the systematic financial risks? It's a cycle of financial curse?
There is a possibility that we cannot rule out of that. But you see, actually, the U.S. is already come back then. Since President Trump took the office, he drastically lowered the tax. He's trying to give a lot of incentives. He's really, supporting the manufacturing. So we're facing a changing international environment as well. So in this sense, I think you're absolutely right. Now the private sector is the backbone of China, providing 90% of employment, 60% of the tax revenue, it's largely
70% of the innovation.
That's right. So
it's driving force to sustain the economy.
If you talk about celebrating 40 years of opening up, I mean the large growing private sector in China, small and medium enterprises, are really the miracle of the world. So, but now we have this for the last 5 years, we've seen a lot of emphasis. Probably on the state enterprises. But then the state enterprises, the state-owned banks, 5 largest banks in China are state-owned. So if they are, of course they're going to lend loans to the state-owned corporations. But then we need actually the small and medium enterprises are those that need help. And also the stock market is coming down 25% and 30%. We see a lot of small and medium enterprises already losing their money. So, but the bank, if they do not trust the small and medium enterprises, if they do not want to lend a loan to the small and medium enterprises, China is going to be in trouble. So that's really the catch-22. So how to solve these state-owned enterprises, lend to private enterprises, yet they're not getting punished if there's money, there's a risk involved. So it easiest is to lend to state-owned enterprises and there's no punishment. But
some of the concerns already went viral on the internet for the private economy, such as what we have been discussing, small and medium-sized enterprises. Now, local government, despite the impact of local debts, have been required to provide the SMEs with loans, and the financial institutions are facing the same requirement. However, the story that went viral on the internet is entrepreneurs of the private part really want to have the cash. The cash is the king. They don't want to run the business. They say, given the unpredictability of the Chinese economy, they want to run away. They want to vote with the feet. So, can they be trusted?
That's a good question, because days ago I talked with many private companies and entrepreneurs and also some high-ranking managers from state-owned companies. They have totally different ideas, and also the third party from the financial sectors. I think we have to come back to the basic knowledge, the basic fact. We cannot believe what we are seeing and reading in the newspapers. For instance, for the financial sector, nobody is lending money to somebody that he cannot believe that he will pay back. So this is very normal. This is very logical.
This is a haunting specter for the banking industry.
So you cannot blame the banking industry. You do nothing. You are just waiting time that didn't make any support to the private companies. But for the private companies, at the moment, as I understand that, they are not really in urgent need of money. They urgent need of jobs, of projects. If they have projects, they can make money. They can make profit.
Oh, by the way, many local government officials refuse to talk about projects because of what we call inaction amidst the current anti-corruption storm. They are so afraid of being inspected by the discipline inspection team and the committee.
I can tell you a story.
The morale is pretty low for the local government officials, I was told.
Yeah. No, the story I heard is that there's a businessman, he got a phone call from a local banker saying, good, I'm going to give you a line of credit of 100 million, and then he come to the businessman, the private entrepreneur is thrilled to hear that. And then a few days later, when the president of the branch manager came, then he said, okay, look, we have another thing hold us back. We cannot lend you that. So there's a lot of a contradiction going on, actually. If the private sector needs the money to really to continue the business, to pay the employees, but then if the liquidity is drying, then that's really signal a big problem that business has. And then the state-owned enterprise, as Mr. Liu said, they're because it's a government-owned banks, and then they cannot lend to the risky business. So damn you do, damn you don't. It's really difficult.
In fact, 10 years ago, when we unleashed the stimulus package,
yeah, 4 trillion. Yeah.
Most of the money found their way to the real estate market. So, but anyway, I'll come back to discuss these and other issues. But first of all, let me go to Mao Daqing, founder and CEO of economies. Hello, Daqing.
Yes.
The cut in RRR is the first in 2019 by the People's Bank of China, or PBOC, and should free up a net 800 billion yuan. After lenders used some of the 1.5 trillion yuan in liquidity released to pay back a maturing medium-term loans. So is that kind of a pump cash into the money market, and will that finally ease the financial burden on the real economy, or will it trigger more financial flow to the real estate and spur housing prices? I'm sorry for these questions. I have tons of questions for you because you are a very good representative of the private economy. So let us know why and how.
Okay, I think the purpose of the government is very clear, to increase the channel of funds for the real economic loan to the SMEs and to better support the development of real economy. As long as government supervision is in place during the implementation process, I think the housing price will be controlled, and I think this policy is mainly to give the enhancement on the science and technology, innovation, the creative part, and the real economy. I don't think this one will have some more impact on the housing price, and the money goes to the real estate too much. I don't think so. Yeah.
So the picture you predict will be very different from what we had 10 years ago. Now, the next question, Daqing, is I wonder if stable employment relies on a sound economic development. The answer is not necessarily so, especially thousands of small and medium-sized enterprises. But the slow economic growth puts more pressures on the job market. Some companies have reduced their employee numbers in the face of a social security reform and downward economic performance. So what new measures are influencing the job market? Let us know your concerns, please.
Yes, I do also concerned about this part, and I do realize during the last half of the year and the beginning of this year, actually, quite a lot of companies started to stop their rapid, so-called rapid development and rapid expand their business, and to control the high cost and control the employment cost. I think this is quite understood and during the economic downturn. So I think there definitely there be a big pressure of this year. We'll have the employment market problem, and somehow this year we have about 8 million new graduate students. So I think this definitely will give a big big problem of the employment market. I think we sure we can see this issue will happen. So for the graduates, I recently I told them, I think for the economic environment is no good. Don't target too high. It's more important to find a suitable position to build their very first footsteps for the career path. And somehow last year we also had set up our education sector in the economies academic, trying to bring the college graduates to thousands of staffs on the economies platform. This also to respond the call for the central government to maintain the stable employment. I think yes, I don't have much solution on this, but definitely I can feel the pressure of
obviously it's no easy job to have a quick fix. But the next question, the last one for you, Daqing, is the tax reform. Additional individual income tax deductions have attracted wide attention and in fact caused vehement debates in the society at large. This is seen as a highlight of China's individual tax reform. What are the challenges on the proper understanding of the specific conditions for each deduction?
You mean the tax reform?
Yes, for
okay.
For the enterprises.
Tax cut, right? Yeah.
Exactly.
Okay, tax cut can be said this is the biggest one in the. I think can be said as the biggest one in recent years. Not only reduce to the individual tax, but also deliver the message of the Chinese central culture, Chinese traditional culture such as children's education and other support. However, I think since it is very important, how can we really implement as such a good policy to generate a general public and let everyone to share the benefit? I think this tax reduction is no doubt a very good way for individuals, including foreign residents, to promote consumption. I think to make people have more so-called flowing and so-called money in the hand. I think very important for the people. They can really boost their capability of consumption. I think this is basic point of this tax cut.
Thank you so much, Daqing, for being with us. Welcome back. Henry, what do you think of the tax reform, the tax cuts? Will that stimulate the growth of the private economy in particular? Because for years, small and medium-sized enterprises have complained bitterly that tax is a drag on their sustainable growth.
Well, I think it's definitely a good move. I mean, they have upgraded the threshold of 3,000 for tax deduction up to the 5,000 RMB, so which is very good. But also more than that, as Daqing said, now they also you have tax deduction now if you have your children go to school, if you have parents to support. So those reflect Chinese values to do that. So which is good. But I think how to implement that, it's again another challenge. Because while you're in Western countries, you basically rely on everyone yourself, individually to fill the forms or maybe through the company reductions. But now this new mechanism, new system, just went into the effective. It's a huge learning process. So I was wondering how long that really can take into effect. And furthermore, there is also a social security fee that was originally said they're going to be taken by the tax bureau. Now they say going to delay that, and which is a huge debate and huge concern for the small and medium enterprises, because we haven't really enjoyed the tax benefit yet. There's going to be said another tax bureau action is going to be taken, and they're going to taken your which is social security payment according to the real salary you have. So because in the past people paying a minimum standard, but now if according to real salary, it's going to be 10% more.
Fortunately, the State Council acted very quickly to suspend the implementation of the decree.
So I think that is really great, smartest move. That and more than that, also for the individual tax for the foreigners who have stayed 183 days in China. Now they have extended for 6 years. And then if you out of China for 90 days, you can come back in and restarting your 5 years term.
Do you think Chinese government deserves credit for listening to complaints and grievances from employers and enterprises at this defining moment of the downward pressure?
I think so. The government, I think, were very clear that what really happened and what really behind the stories. But when we're talking about the tax reform, I think one thing is very important. Some high-ranking officials do not understand. Even there's some misunderstanding and misconduct in the lower government. I tell you the truth. Why the SME are not feeling as much they are enjoy the benefits from the cut reform? Because years before, 20 years before, the local government have already flexible tax policies. They have already cut this tax income already by 20, 30, 40%. Nowadays, the central government said, we'll give you some more cut of this tax. But when the people calculate, they find that today's pay is more than they paid before, 20 years before. That's why that the
what went wrong? What actually had gone wrong?
The gone wrong is that all these
several decades.
All these tax policies in all levels must the same, must kept in the same level. They cannot be so in different levels. That's why so many SMEs are feeling so differently.
Okay, before we wrap up this very interesting brainstorming on the prospects of the Chinese economy in the year 2019 as part of our effort to forecast the whole picture, let's look at the urgency of the job market. I mean, as Daxin said earlier, this year we're going to see the graduation of up to 8.5 million university graduates, 8.5 million university graduates. That will add to the big number of unemployed, of those who are waiting for jobs already in the market. So what do you think of the adversity, Zhiqin and Harry?
Well, I think that the job market is extremely important, that China attaches great importance to fulfill the job opportunity for the young people. And that actually is one of the greatest achievements China had in the past, to provide new employment opportunities and also lift 740 million people out of poverty. So, but now the challenge is, again, we need a new stimulus. China now needs new stimulus, new big dividend on the policy. In the 80s, we have the contracting of the land, so suddenly we have a abundant economy. And in the 90s, we privatized the urban apartments, so that led to the boom of real estate for China for 30 years. And in the year of 2000, we had the joint WTO that led export, revolution for China. China has benefited greatly of the globalization. Now we need some new policies to stimulate the next 10 years. For example, I think nowadays I saw some of new emerging is the household land of the rural, farmers. It's not, if they come into the market, that could be a tremendous opportunity for these new young people, for the college graduates to let's go to the countryside. Let's have the township enterprises. Let's have the modern farming, and then let's stimulate let the private farmers transact their land, and then they can have their apartment in the cities.
Unlike the catch-up economy of India, on the periphery of our country, we are already running a labor shortage. Do you think artificial intelligence will be the solution, or the use of robots? So what would be the quick fix, if any?
No, I think your question is quite interesting. Many people are in question that whether we are in the right time that to use AI technology or the robotics to replace the human being, the labor power. Because China is different from other countries. We are a huge population. Under this population pressure, we should regularly, not in a very quick space, that to develop our AI technology and also the robotics to replace the labor forces. The second, as you said, to stimulus the policies. What policies? I think we should lower a little bit the outcome of the labor side today, and diversifying this income to other newcomers. Why the SME or the state-owned company, they cannot hire large number of new laborers? Because the wages are increasingly double. Today's salary can invite 2 and 3 more employees. This is one reason that why we have so many jobless people here. And the second also, we should give more access freedom to the people that to go to the market, to do the jobs what they can do, what they want to, what they wish to. I think by such way, policies to stimulate the job market. Otherwise, we have no way out.
Perhaps we are barking at the wrong tree, gentlemen. Instead of using terms like university graduates, what about the vocational education, vocational schooling?
Absolutely.
We have a lot to learn from Germany, where you have hundreds of vocational schools for the training programs of young people. They don't necessarily have to graduate from prestigious universities, right, like Harvard, Cambridge, the Ivory Tower. I mean, for Germany, I think this is a role model indeed for the manufacturing industry, for the labor-intensive industry in China, right?
Yeah, no, absolutely. I think that the pyramid of the talent, structure in China is out of balance. I mean, you have a huge number of college graduates, and then there's a very small number of vocational and technical, and just ordinary working staff. So the skilled labor is really in shortage in China, and then that's really important. I think now we are, as I said at the beginning, we're in a cycle of another probably financial crisis, probably. But then last in the 2008, that year, we have the 4 trillion package, largely by investing into the infrastructure project. So that created a lot of jobs. Now China infrastructure probably saturated a little bit already. So this time, now we are facing this kind of difficulty. We need a new thinking. We need a new reform. We need to really liberalize the farmers.
We are already getting very close to the cross-cultural discourse or paradigm in our comparison between Germany and China in terms of the job market and prospects of the Chinese dynamics, economic dynamics. So let's look at the latest moves by the Federal Reserve to be more flexible with their monetary policy, and with our increase in the liquidity to add to the dynamics of the SMEs. What do you think of the impact of the Federal Reserve? I mean, Powell, chairman of the Federal Reserve, says he will not resign despite appeal from President Trump. Did you think a compromise has been made between the White House and Federal Reserve, and what is the halt of interest rate by the Federal Reserve actually mean for the Chinese economy?
I think FED is trying to be more independent and show his independence to the whole world, that this is very important for the confidence of the world market towards the U.S. FED. If FED is no more independent, I think the whole world will collapse. I think the economy will collapse. Of course, it has direct and indirect impact on the Chinese market, because the capital market is so closely linked together with the number 1 and number 2. We cannot ignore any impact negatively from the FED policies, but actually our liquidation input is somewhat to compensate the negative impact from the United States.
Some in the United States have the joke that President Trump has a very limited vocabulary. In his vocabulary, there are only 2 words, hire and fire. Whoever he's not happy with would be fired immediately, like latest Secretary of Defense, James Mattis. So what do you think of the moves by Federal Reserve?
No, I think they are still reflect the U.S. economy. I mean, the Federal Reserve is keeping interest rate, pointed higher, from time to time, and then reflecting the real economy. But the U.S. is still doing pretty well. I mean, they had just had a last month's of job number, created over 300,000 new jobs, which is amazing for the U.S. economy. So I think today the world, China, U.S. is so much intertwined. We're no longer in the situation of 10 years ago. It's so impacting each other. So I think the only way for China to get out of this is really to deepen the reform, and also, of course, to have much liberalized policy coming up. But to relax the reserve and generate a lot of liquidity is not enough. We also have to solve some of the fundamental problem. So there's this matching between the ownership and also the private sector. So I think a lot of things can be done.
So inspirations we drew from 40 years ago is actually a emancipation of the mind coming together in partnership with the liberalization of the market. With that, we come to the end of this brainstorming with Henry Wang Huiyao and Professor Liu Zhiqing. We'll see you next time.